Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this evening's performance of The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. What you are about to watch is an unedited performance, broadcast live from the Pump House Theatre in Watford. So please, wherever you are, dim the lights, adjust the volume, watch in full screen, and get comfortable. And remember, you are now in a theatre, so unless you are watching this on your phone, turn them off. And finally, please, don't forget to donate to our Pay What You Can page at gofundme.com/Jekyll Hyde Live. Thank you, and enjoy the show.
My name is Utterson, sir. Gabriel Utterson. I was a close personal friend of Henry Jekyll. He was a doctor and a man of God. I had made the acquaintance of Edward Hyde some months ago. That is to say, he was a familiar figure to me, though we had spoken only once, very briefly. I confess he unnerved me greatly. I suspected he had a hold of some kind over my friend, though for the life of me I cannot say what it was. Henry would never confide in me, though I got the distinct impression that he was terribly afraid.
His face? Oh, sir, you're thinking the strangest thing, but I remember nothing of his face. I was looking, I swear to it. He had a cane. Yes, with a big silver handle. I remember that distinctly because the moon came out from behind a cloud all of a sudden like, and the light glanced across it as he raised it above his head, and I must have fainted then, sir, because the next thing I remember he was gone. And the other gentleman, the man he'd been with, he was on the ground, sir, not moving. And there was a pool of something dark spreading out around him.
Could that lad be I? Merry of soul, he sailed on a day over the sea to sky.
I dare say you'll think me mad. Indeed, perhaps that is so. Not now, Poole. I must sleep. And yet I dare not sleep. How does anything first come to be? I mean to say, really and truly begin. When I cast my mind back to the earliest of my lessons, peel back the years and summon up once more that first spark of awareness. My eyes open, the light pouring in, the shock of the new. I am new. Whole. Alone. The child that is born on the Sabbath day is bonny, bright, good, and that he amongst us without sin cast the first pillar of salt. Let us say, to begin with, that I first learnt the principles of arithmetic at my father's knee. Perhaps he had high hopes that I would one day become a financier or a great man of business and keep him in his dotage. I became a doctor, and my father became deceased. Neither of us was ultimately satisfied. At first I sought to copy, to repeat, to please. Ugh. Echoing my father's voice, 1 + 1 = 2. 2 is greater than 1. As I am one, you too are one. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. A peculiar marriage of certainty and faith. A child learns when to question, and if he fears the answer, to keep his curiosity to himself. Away, I say! As I grew older, I began to itch, uncontrollably at times, as though mites had burrowed deep under my skin. Something was forcing its way to the surface, taking control of my very being, whispering in my ear as I knelt to pray, filling my head with signs and wonders, thoughts I had long repressed. It felt at times as though there were another consciousness inside of me, wrestling for control of my being, urging me to action. What action I knew not, only I doubted it were to be found in the scriptures. As I am one, you too are one.
The alley, the gaslight, a peal of laughter, the muffled squeak of heavy breathing, slick with sweat, the scream, the ache, agony, the release.
I am a doctor and a man of God. But I confess, there has long brewed in me a hunger. I began to study the people around me, friends, strangers, as if seeing humanity for the very first time. Surely I could not be the only one with this secret inner voice, this sinister other life. Could it be that in every mild-mannered cleric there lay slumbering a base barbarian, in every temperate virgin a debauched and drunken harpy, screeching for release? Oh, how is it more of us have not been driven mad? If there were only a way to separate the two, so that all that was righteous and good may reside in the one half, and all that was wicked and perverse may be cast into the other. To release, in fact, the duality of all that man is, all that he could yet be. Imagine, then, to be able to pass at will between those two selves, the same and yet different, in plain sight but undetected, guilty, but entirely without blame. Now that would surely be a work of genius.
Sir, forgive me, sir, but you have a visitor.
I can receive no visitors at present. I am not, in many ways, myself.
It is a Mr. Utterson, sir. He insists on seeing you.
Be that as it may, say that I am currently confined to my rooms and regrets to say the gentleman must leave.
He says it is a matter of the utmost urgency, sir. He spoke of Mr. Hyde.
Hyde? Did he? Of what does he know of Mr. Edward Hyde? Or you, or I? Edward Hyde is gone. He's gone away forever.
Yes, sir, of course, sir. Only he has been spotted.
Spotted? By whom spotted?
By Mr. Utterson, sir, and by the servants. They claim to see him, or someone who looks very like him, coming and going from the north.
Someone who looks like... Oh, pray, what do they say that he looks like?
They say he is a small man, sir, diminutive, although not a dwarf exactly, but a man who looks as though he were being gradually swallowed by his own clothing.
Preposterous. Hyde looked nothing of the sort, and never did.
But with powerful bones, sir. A cadaver with a ferocious grin, they say, and a face like,
Well, spit it out, man!
a face like nothing you may have ever seen, sir, like staring into the abyss. One of the maids, sir, said she felt as though, having looked into his face, she would never know warmth again, as though Mr. Hyde would be walking back and forth over her grave forever.
Better that than she ever catch his eye.
Sir?
Better that catch never breed a look, beget a spark, become a thirst. Edward Hyde is, once and for all, no more. Now apologise to Mr. Utterson, but make it perfectly clear that Dr. Henry Jekyll is at home to no one.
Yes, sir.
How slyly thought births hypothesis. How swiftly experiment becomes obsession.
It was easy to begin with, absurdly so. I felt at times as though divine hands were guiding my own. I worked furiously and yet in a state of utter calm, my hands reaching for compounds, mixtures, vials of liquid entirely of their own accord, a symphony composed before my very eyes. I knew only the shifting, hypnotic colours of the elixir, and the rising excitement which coursed through every fibre of my being. It may have been hours, days, weeks that I worked, who can say? Months? Surely not. And yet, Time no longer had meaning. I felt as though I teetered on a knife edge, a sentry on high alert, lured away by the sweet promise of the opium pipe. At long last, the tincture settled and seemed to breathe a welcome sigh of relief. Sparkling shifts of green and gold, and with that, my endeavour ceased to be merely a stray thought on a foggy afternoon. I stood before the lock, the key clutched in my hand, certain I was poised to come face to face with a man I had never met, yet had somehow known intimately all these years. A golem, a second self, into whom I could pour the wildest excesses of my imagination. A distant drumbeat began underfoot, reverberating up through the floorboards. It seemed to say, pulsing at my temple, insistent, unyielding. The Doctor and the Man of God.
What else could I do but obey?
Beautiful dreams! Let beauty awake in the rest! Let beauty awake for beauty's sake! In the hour when the bear hopes are awake in the brink. And the stars are bright in the west. Well met, sir. At long last. Imagine, if you will, awakening from a fitful, haunted sleep to a banquet of no ordinary concoction. Blood, burnt sugar, butterboats to start with, dear, or perhaps you prefer a hand of backgammon to stimulate your appetite. All tastes are gladly catered for, extensive menu, marvellous cook, a table laid with silver and the finest linen silk. Oh, candlelight. Charming crowds, rivulets of red liquor cascading down their chins. Teeming city, brimming, rapid dimming of the daylight into dusk.
Cheer up, sweetheart.
Let me call you darling. How's about it?
Have a little drop of ale, dear. Little lie down with me.
You, sir, are a scoundrel and a scourge to humankind.
Touch ya where it feels good.
Low, loathsome beast.
Half a shilling, mister. That's all it
Depraved
costs.
and inhuman. Monstrous bastard.
Sweetheart.
Darling.
Abomination.
You got a match, sir. Got a light.
Daddy, is that you?
Lonely little life, isn't it? When you
Contemptible
Tell me you love me. Go on.
Your name, sir. I will have your name.
My name is Edward Hyde.
To live wholly and completely in that moment, for that moment to feel everything and everyone all at once. To kneel for the crunch and the punch and the grind and the snap and the push and the pull and the tug and the pick and the prick and the gulp and the pulp and then the sweet slick of lamplight, shadows on the faces of the dwellers in the gloom, the earthy perfume, banks of the serpentine lingering, longing till dawn, journeys end in lovers meeting. Oh, the dreaming of exquisite pain is so very like a prayer.
Away! Please, God! We were happy for a time, Hyde and I. Well, if not happy, then at least at peace. We parted like clockwork every twilight and every dawn, friends of a kind. I found him rooms near to my home, ensured my estate would provide for him, explained him away as some eccentric acquaintance to whom nobody need pay much attention. In time, we barely acknowledged one another, save for a fleeting glance of willful ignorance. Soon, however, I began to hear the rumours.
Hyde has been seen, Jekyll. He is murdered.
Whispers, gossip, puzzled expressions on the faces of colleagues and friends.
He is wanted by the peelers.
Hang the damn peelers and hang you too!
I became steadily aware of a thinning of the divide, a reluctance to be summoned from my slumber, finding myself frantically scrubbing soiled bedsheets as the dawn broke with no recollection of what had brought me there. My hands caked with grime, the taste of iron fresh on my tongue. Our contract, it seems, was broken. We were no longer two equal halves after all.
And the Lord said there shall be two nations within your womb, and one shall be stronger than the other.
I resolved to mix one final draught. A toast of farewell to Edward Hyde, a parting of the ways. Summon the carriages, Poole. Snuff out the candles. Put him to sleep at last.
Sleep? No! More!
But try as I might, my hands had lost their ability to divine. Were they my hands or were they those of somebody else? Did they seem larger than normal? Were the bones more bulbous, the skin peeling back from the knuckle?
Be not afeard, Jekyll. We know what Hyde has done. How he has forced you to shield him, to change your will, allow him access to your home to escape his foul crimes. You must let us in at once so we can help you, protect you.
The elixir had lost its potency. The green and gold, once so conjured and slugged so thoughtlessly, would never come again. The contents of the vial settled black and thick as tar. The spark, once so readily kindled, refusing to catch.
A man is dead, Jekyll, and there are others, women and children too, raped and slaughtered mercilessly.
And now, I dare not court sleep, dare not allow my mind to drift.
Jekyll, I will break down this door.
And I will rip out your heart and feed it to your wife on a platter.
So help me God. Is this the duality of all that man is, all that he could yet be? What man may learn, what man may do of right or wrong, of false or true. So much I know, and yet practice not, half misconceived and half forgot. A peculiar marriage of certainty and faith. I must make haste before the world returns through that door and all is known. If the scales cannot find balance, then the both of us must cease to be. And so, with that, let the secret be lost forever, as it has now been lost to me.
Snivelling little gutter snipe, weak, mealy-mouthed traitor!
Some veils were not meant to be lifted.
You, who ached for me, Daddy's darling boy!
Some truths were not meant to be known.
Our pleasure is all and everything.
Some mysteries must remain forever out of reach.
I will burn this world!
In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit!
Jekyll!
Sing me a song of a lad that is gone.
Jekyll!
Sing
Jekyll!
it loud.
Henry! He was dead, of course. His body splayed on the ground, face contorted in a rictus grimace, eyes wide open and bloodshot. The stench of vomit and chemicals hung heavy in the air. The place was a mess, as though there'd been a skirmish or perhaps a wrestling match. Smashed glasses, books with their pages torn out. Servants were crying, clinging to one another in the doorway. Poole, the manservant, was white, muttering a prayer under his breath. The sense of gloom and lifelessness pervaded the room, emanating from the spent shell of its former occupant. And the strangest thing of all, as I looked down at the body of Dr. Henry Jekyll, my old friend, I fancied, just for a moment, I could see the looming shadow of Edward Hyde.